You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody who do you want. Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Welcome to Talking in the Building, a podcast where we focus on the pro wrestling promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and we pontificate on the promo. My name is Adalid, and I'm here with my compadres, my homies, my friends in the pro wrestling space and beyond. We got Greg out on the East Coast, and we got Adrian out on the East Coast too. How you doing, fellas?
Feeling good, man. Feeling great. Let's get it.
Doing good. Let's
All right.
get to it.
Yeah, awesome. So this is Adalid, for those that don't know. And if you don't know the podcast, check us out. Check out the back archive. We focus strictly on the promo. We don't dive in too much into the backstage, into the rumors. You know, we might touch on it here and there. But really, we try to focus on the art, the structure, how you connect emotionally to these promos, and really what draws us into the building. And for a lot of us, this is going back, decades, because we're lifelong fans. So if you haven't checked this out, give us a try. Check out the back catalog. We got tons going on. And, like, comment, subscribe, and check us out on the socials and let us know what you're thinking. Today, we're going to try to unify something. We always want to talk about more current promos, and sometimes it's just, the wrestling space is very, very vast. It's very, very quick. So we don't always get to everything. There's a lot going on. There's so many hours in the day, and it's hard to keep track with all these promotions. So today we're going to take a little bit of a different bend here. So we're calling this the Talkers List. And if you stay with me, the Talkers List of the week, really, because we're going to be looking at current promos and just more recent promos that drew our attention, that got us talking. A lot of the times, we're in our text thread that we share together, and hey, this promo is really good. I'll check this out, and we don't ever get a chance to really kind of dissect it and break it down, because then we focus on our themed episodes, or we're doing these standalone episodes. So we're trying this out with several promos that are more current. So join us tonight as we go down and run down the Talkers List, all right? And we're just going to see how we connected with these promos. Some of these are very recent, as recent as this week. Some of them are in recent history, but I think you'll enjoy it for tonight. We're gonna dive in with something we've always talked about, by thinking about introductions and promos. And guys, something that we think about every time that we meet a new wrestler as they're moving companies or they're changing into a space. What are some of your pet peeves, or what are some of your wants when you see a wrestler move into a different promotion and they're trying to sell themselves for the first time? What kind of things are you looking for to connect with them? And that can mean they might have a new name, a new gimmick, but in essence, it's still the same wrestler. What things stand out to you? And can come up with a few examples too. Maybe someone that drew you into the building in that first promo coming back. And I'll give you one perfect example to lead off. I'm thinking of a really classic one, a Jericho, right? Comes on to Monday Night Raw. This is the crossover promo, or the debut promo that everybody looks to, because he played his character perfectly. He had the perfect, dancing partner with Rock, establishes his character, and we're off to the races. Obviously, with varied success after the fact, but if you just look at the promo, it's a perfect introduction who Jericho is in that moment and in that space. Greg, I'm going to come at you. When you think about that first crossover promo, what do you think? What comes to mind, and what are you looking for?
I think I want to know why. So the one that stands out to me, I'm thinking Scott Hall. You know who I am. You don't know why I'm here. And you give me intrigue. And over the next couple of weeks, we learn more in that situation, right? We learn more as to why. The way he did that was, you piqued my interest. Now, mind you, I was a huge Razor Ramon fan. So then when he came into WCW, I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, Razor's here. He doesn't say his name. He doesn't say anything, but he also doesn't say anything negative about his previous company. But of course, at that point, I still don't know why you're there. So I think that's one big thing is like, why did you jump? Why are you in the place you're at? Are you in modern times, you kind of said, what don't I want? I get so tired of people showing up and down in the previous company, no matter who it is. No matter if it's, whatever company. But what I love about the Scott Hall promo is it's influencing today's promos. And here's how I say that. Ricky Starks comes out, all chanting for him. What does he say? Oh, so you know who I am. He's not even going by Ricky Starks. They don't address his name or anything until the next week or two. We just saw Mariah May do the same exact thing. She comes out, she gets her surprise, people lose their mind, they know who she is. Those who don't know who she is know she's a big deal because people lost their minds. But there's no name. All we know is the glamour, right? Now we get a new name the following week. So it's kind of like, I like the intro promo that they come out. You don't know exactly why they're there, but you learn that over the next couple of weeks. But by strategy, they kind of lead you on and talk you into watching them again the following week.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's I think acknowledging the past is key to what you said there, right?
Yeah.
It's not insulting, not saying none of that existed. I think that shift is really cool. Adrian, what do you look for when someone is debuting either in a new company or a new entity or a new character like that?
The number one thing for me, and I think this is still so undervalued and underutilized in today's wrestling, are the vignettes. Like vignettes, whether or not it's just flat out saying this person is now with this company, it could be a mystery, like the Jericho thing. The Jericho vignettes, how long were those? Like, we had damn near a couple months of the countdown. And those people, like, I wasn't completely on the internet at that point, so I didn't know that was Jericho, but I know some friends did know and figured, they were like, yeah, that's Chris Jericho. But some vignettes where they're showing old footage of you in Japan or something, that way is giving us as the new viewer the opportunity to see what your chops are. Like if this person is being billed. I remember Asuka, when Asuka first came to WWE, there were a lot of clips of her previous work, and it gave you the vibe like, man, this girl is gonna be an ass kicker. And sure enough, she lived up to that name, and it's just, and they did the same thing with they did the same thing with a number of those guys, especially if you worked in Japan. But I do think the vignettes are something that's underutilized. I think that's a perfect way to introduce a character, give you an idea of their motivations, give you an idea of what makes them tick before they even say one word technically out there in that crowd.
And that's a great point to make, because the first clip we're looking at is a vignette.
Nice.
And and Greg called it. We're going to be looking at not Mariah May anymore. We're going to see her new name and her new character. One thing I should note that I mean, I just saw it online, because obviously I'm not super into knowing everything pop culture, but it seems like this was inspired almost shot for shot by Sabrina Carpenter music video or promo or something like that. So anyway, something to keep in mind. So here's Blake Monroe.
It's time to get out. I have to get out. Internationally adored by all, because making people scream is nothing new for her. She's beauty. She's grace. And she will probably punch you in the face. The glamour doesn't just walk into the spotlight. She's the reason it exists. The glamour is the girl you've been waiting for. Introducing Well, we don't got all day. There she is. The glamour is Blake Monroe.
Short, sweet, and to the point. A lot of influences. Greg, I'm going to come at you. What do you think about this 60s inspired I Dream of Jeannie, Sabrina Carpenter? Let's throw in all the adjectives. What are your thoughts on this Blake Monroe debut vignette?
I think I loved it. One, because it's different. There's also a couple little things in there that we just talked about acknowledging your past. And I think it was interesting when she said it's time to get out. I do need to get out. To me, that was I need to get out from where I was at. Also, what color does she used to wear in AEW?
What did you wear?
Black.
Oh,
What dress did she throw to the side? Black.
Dress.
She held up, threw that off, and now she shows up in white. Now she wore a lot of black. I'm not saying that's the only thing she wore, but when I saw that, I was like, I went back to AEW's final appearance, and if I'm not mistaken, she had on black. And I was like, little subtle things like that I could be wrong on, right? But it made me think there's little subtleties there that says, oh no. So she has something different on. That was cool. I think it's also kind of showing her that she's a star. Because I think when you get these vignettes, that's showing the audience that this is somebody you should pay attention to. So I loved it. I thought it was cool, something different. And I'm with Adrian. I love vignettes. I think especially in today's world, more so than back in the past, you need vignettes.
Yep.
Because it's very hard to just come out and just everybody just knows who you are. It's just very hard to come out as a new star, especially with new names and everything. And I will be honest, I like the new name.
Yeah. Isn't it named after her niece or something? Or
first name, man. That's first what I heard that the first name's after niece and last name obviously after Marilyn Monroe. But and it's interesting to me because to your point, there's a lot of these little Easter eggs if you're willing to like look into it.
Yeah.
But also by that same vein, it's a very, I would just use the word, it's a very, very feminine promo, right? Very like, we're going to show this side of you and mention that you can punch someone in the face, right? Because ultimately you're a pro wrestler. But in contrast to what Adrian was saying earlier, like we're not getting any action shots. We're not getting any in-ring action. And I don't think you necessarily need it here. But Adrian, like, what are your thoughts knowing that, when you think of a vignette, obviously you're selling yourself, but this is a reinvention too of sorts, right? This is you're trying to create at least some sense of a new character while acknowledging the past. What was going through your mind as you're seeing this reintroduction of the character?
Well, the first thing, I'll be flat out honest. It does kind of remind me of Timeless Toni Storm in the sense of it being a time period, that sort of character wise, which I can obviously already hear AEW fans like, oh my God, now she's an imitation Toni Storm, when she was an imitation Toni Storm throughout her AEW run. So who cares, guys?
But was the gimmick.
But I mean, when it came to the vignette, like I did mention, I do like the vignettes where they show previous action, but I like the vignettes where they're showing character. And one thing about her as a performer, we all know she can wrestle. She's a really good wrestler. So there's no question that she's going to deliver, especially on that stage and that style of wrestling. The big thing about getting her truly over is her character and personality. Because whereas on one side, whereas AEW, the focus is this is where the best wrestle, and we wrestle here and with bangers and 5 stars and all this. Whereas WWE, you're not over unless you got personality. I don't know of one bland character that's really over currently with WWE. And if they are bland, that's part of their personality. Like that should be a fun or cool thing because they're so bland and dry. So I think the vignette was effective. And I do love the 60s references. You mentioned it. Like, I Dream of Jeannie, I saw Bewitched. As soon as they showed the cartoon or whatnot, I was like, oh my God, that's like Bewitched. But, I'm interested to see how that translates on WWE programming. They do very well with characters on NXT. You can be all over the board and it makes sense. So I have no doubt that she's gonna be money there. And I mean, think about all the talent that just technically left that NXT women's division, but yet it's still, in my opinion, y'all can argue against it, whatever, in the comments or whatever. I think that's still the best women's division in pro wrestling.
Scary, man.
From top to bottom, I think that's the best.
Yeah.
So you're just adding one more really talented, very attractive piece to the puzzle. And I'm looking forward to it.
I would like to see them draw this out for like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes. No need to rush it.
No. There's just
no need to rush it.
I mean, all the way to like SummerSlam weekend type of thing. Like
the dreads of summer. They don't need to do anything. You're right.
And let's let her in-ring debut be on whatever that SummerSlam weekend NXT show is. And just draw this out. Because to your point, Adrian, no in-ring action in the vignette puts me in the mindset of Razor, puts me in the mindset of Mr. Perfect, puts me in the mindset of those guys back in the day where you don't see that stuff. And that's what I did like, because now we are introducing the character.
Definitely.
And I think there's another piece of that, a contrast. So you talked about Asuka to this. When Asuka came in, we needed to see that.
Yes.
We had a different type of women's division, not as deep. You needed to see, hey, we're making this legitimate. We're still kind of coming out of that diva era. We're coming into something. Look, she legitimizes this. We don't have to legitimize it anymore. So now we're at a point where we can come in and introduce a character.
That's such a fun thing that you just said, and fun in the sense that we are no longer having this argument. And look, we are all here as products of an era when women went on the card, it was a bathroom break. And that is the saddest thing that you can say, but it was reality for a long time. Yep. Right. And it was because, the regime, whoever was in charge, they just didn't see it. Right. There wasn't opportunities to develop as a pro wrestling, pro wrestler as a woman, and much less as a fan. If you think about it, it was not accessible to women. It was not something that women could easily connect with, other than to like, well, I like watching guys wrestle half naked, basically, right? So it's really cool that we're having a conversation like this, on the eaves of Evolution 2, right? Which we can get into the conversation if it came too late or not. But it's cool because what Greg said, it makes me look forward to these vignettes, just thinking also about the matchups that are going to come and who's going to be that first interaction that's going to burst that bubble and say like, oh, you're not timeless. You're something else, or something, some little rib about her old gimmicks or whatnot, or copy gimmicks. Great. So that's a perfect way to start off the night in terms of more current promos and thinking about, also current wrestlers, because like to your point, we talked about a Ricky Starks and this movement. You have this crop that just got released from WWE and they're going to show up in AEW any point. What does their reintroduction look like? What does their promo packages look like? And if we're going to be comparing companies in that sense, that's something I'm willing to get into it down the line, is who does it better, right? Who reintroduces these released wrestlers or these, reborn characters into something else? Because let's look at Ricochet recently. I don't think any of us thought it was gonna go anywhere, right? I mean, and he did, and he's making it happen. So props to that dude. All right, we are gonna move on into the next promo on the promo list here, and in this rundown, we are looking at one of the more recent promos between pretty much your figureheads of the women's division in AEW, and that is Toni Storm and Mercedes Monet, and their first face-off here.
And you've remained undefeated. But you have never once spoke to me. You have never once looked at me. You said that you've been watching me since before you even came here. You told Anthony Khan that this was the one match you wanted to have. So, darling, what took you so long?
What took me so long, darling? Patience, darling, patience. You see, this is not about you, Toni. This is about me and my legacy. And you think I'm just gonna go around backstage shaking anybody's hand when I am the Beyonce of women's wrestling? You gotta be kidding me. Toni, do you not know who I am? I am the standard. I am the conversation. I am the blueprint. I am the revolution.
Well, I'm the Toni Storm of professional wrestling, and I swear to an unknown God, you have never met anyone like me.
You're right, Toni. You see, this girl, this shy, nervous Toni Storm that I met 10 years ago, you are very different. But I'm different too. You see, I'm not a boss anymore. I'm a CEO. And I have beaten the very best all over the world, from Mexico, Japan, England, and now all in Texas, I'm bringing it home. And we will have the greatest women's match of all time.
You know, we have so many similarities. We both started so young. We both struggled on the indies. We both found success. We were given trophies. We were given flowers. And when that wasn't enough, we left it all behind to follow our hearts. And in AEW, we became exactly who we are meant to be. But there's just one glaring difference. While you want all the titles, I need only one. I have lived for this. I have cried for this. I have bled for this. And I have died for this.
All right, it's a fairly long promo. Encourage you to watch the whole thing. They go back and forth. They talk about little girls watching it and being inspired by this pro wrestling match. But Adrian, I'm gonna go to you first. What are your thoughts on these claims by Mercedes Monet? She is the revolution. Little jab there, but also more on the character work. This interplay where they're acknowledging past, right? And I think that's, I think that might be the first time where I see that Toni's being seen as more than just the character, right?
Now, before I give you my answer, I do want to take a special moment to shout out RJ City.
Yeah.
Thank you, RJ, because you saved Toni Storm's wrestling career. You took someone who was a bland personality, whose gimmick was, hey, I'm cute, I can wrestle really good, and I wear my hat backwards. That was her gimmick for over a decade. But thanks to RJ and his creativity and work with her, collaboration, now we have timeless Toni Storm and everyone loves her. Now, to answer your question, I have an appreciation that they did touch on the past because let's face it, whether you like Mercedes Monet or not, in this current form, at one point she was part of the revolution. Or that's the WWE marketing of the women's revolution. It was her, Charlotte, Becky, and Bailey. You know, the four horsewomen. That's what they were called. They were a part of it, major part of it. I still think losing Sasha Banks was a big loss for WWE, even though they have rebounded and they've brought in stars and they've retooled their roster. I think it's still a noticeable hole once you lose someone like Sasha Banks. And I don't personally get the fans that are poo-pooing so much on her. Backstage politics and all of that, I get. But she was a major part, and she's one of the most talented women's wrestlers in today's wrestling, and we got to respect that. The only thing we can be upset about or annoyed with is her booking and the fact that whether or not she has her creative control, like the rumors say or whatever, she didn't walk in with that with that privilege. Like, that was given to her. So if that is even true, that's not her fault. Like, if any of us are told we can decide what the hell when we want to show up to work, show me where I can sign up for that job, So, I'm not going to kill her for that like other people are doing currently on the internet. But she's a huge part of wrestling past with WWE. I think this is the feud and rivalry that will reestablish the Mercedes Monet that we want to see. Because that's been my one critique of Mercedes' entire AEW run. They've never quite matched her up in a rivalry with someone that was considered up there with her for whatever reason. She's had some great matches and just finished having a great one with Jamie Hayter. But based on booking, when we were looking at Jamie Hayter, we were looking at Jamie Hayter as the underdog. Whether you wanted her to win or not, she was the clear-cut underdog. Now, Mercedes is facing someone that's right there with her. And that can establish her as that's going to earn her money, because Toni is the most over wrestler in that company, not most over women's wrestler. She's the most over wrestler in that company. Make no mistake about it. This is a perfect opportunity for Mercedes to not only have a great match at All In, which they're going to deliver, but the build up, the rivalry, the back and forth, the promos. This is where you're going to earn the money. This is where you can earn the claim of being a draw.
Yeah, and that the fact is this was positioned in the way it was in the show is to your point, right? They're seeing them as their top stars, regardless of gender, regardless of anything. This is the moneymaker, and they're putting them at All In. They're not saving this for a random pay-per-view. This is going to headline their biggest show of the year.
As
right?
it should.
It maybe you can talk about downsizing, and it's in Texas now. The fact of the matter, it is still their biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is. So, what more can you ask? Greg, if you're thinking about this within the context of AEW, I mean, we're kind of reacting to the crowd reaction, and everybody's there for the company, and good for everybody, good for the fandom. There's an alternative. If we see beyond that, and we see this in the context of the larger wrestling space, where does this feud and where does this interaction kind of place? We're talking about a time where we have so many top tier feuds. This one could easily get lost in the fold, even in AEW, when you got other ones like Swerve and Ospreay, and you got the Death Riders on the periphery. What are your thoughts on this particular promo and the feud, and I guess in the larger sense?
So, I've got a lot about this one. I'll be honest, I didn't like this promo. And for a few reasons. We still got like a month before this. They shot their entire shot in one promo. They touched on their past. They touched on their present. They touched on their future. They touched on the belts. They touched on everything. What are they going to talk about next week? What's there left to talk about? There's nothing. They shot their whole shot in one promo, and I'm like, okay, that's great. So to me, this should have been a quick promo, not like 1 or 2 minutes, but something small, interrupted or whatever. I don't know how you want to do it, but then next you start building a story. Go back to Charlotte and Tiffany. Yes, we know it kind of got work shoot or whatever, but you think about how that evolution of those promos went to where did we want to see that? When did they talk us into the building? The last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's when we said we got to see this.
First 2 weeks they were
With
talking us
false
away from the
starts,
week.
right?
100%. And it's it's a roller coaster, right? And this should have been setting it up a little bit. And to me, Mercedes, there were things said in this promo that made no sense to me.
Like what?
Like, I'm the Beyonce. Okay, I like the fact that Toni came back and said that, but you don't. To me, you've now put yourself at a lower level of another celebrity.
Yeah.
You stood there, and I will be honest. And this is me across all companies. I hate it in Japan. I hate it everywhere. You should not have another company's belt on your shoulder or anywhere else on you except for that company, because you're undefeated. At some point, those belts start to go away, and somebody's going to say, well, they lost that belt. They lost that belt. So to me, you're putting over other companies. You stood there as a heel and said, we're going to have the greatest match of all time. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Why? I'm a heel. I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm going to take that belt from you, and I'm going to beat you, and this is not going to be a great match. That's what I want to hear. You're sitting there putting over your other opponent. You're a heel.
That's kind of what the AEW standard is. Like we're the best.
Right.
We're the best wrestle.
And here's the thing: we're the best wrestle. Where I'm going to wrestle so well that I'm going to whoop you so fast. That's okay. You can still put it over.
Yeah.
They played to. Now we're in a place where we do this, and they all go. Well, not all. The 10 people out there start chanting AEW, and they pause. Great. They don't care about you. What have you done to make them care about you, Mercedes? You said CEO. In the beginning, people were chanting CEO.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted, but as a heel, you don't. And then Toni says her thing. Nobody chanted for Toni. Nobody chanted for Mercedes. AEW. AEW. Great. Guess what doesn't draw money? The company. What's going to talk me into the building? Not people out there chanting for AEW. Somebody chanting and getting me invested in Toni Storm. Another thing that bugged me, and I don't know the setup of this, why was she standing there with no shoes on?
Oh, she's done that before.
100%, but that doesn't make sense to me. Why are you going to wear the shoes to the ring and then just kick them off? What, are you a housewife? Are you just what are you doing? I mean, to me, these are little pieces of your character of coming out and being like, well, why wear it? Don't do it. It's just little things like that just irritate me. And it's just like, when you see production, not just wrestling, but production as a whole, it's those details that take a character from here to here. You don't see Cena coming out there and just taking off everything for no reason. He didn't cut a promo with no shirt and everything on. No, you know why? Because his gimmick is the jorts and the hat and the shirt. If he takes the shirt off, there's a reason. If he throws the hat, there's a reason. You just kicked your shoes off for what? There's no physicality. There's nothing going on. So I didn't like this promo. The content of it could have been broken up apart around for the next 4 weeks.
I'll throw a little wrench in the poo poo party here, because I did like the promo, and I'll tell you why. And maybe my perspective is, if I've already decided on what I perceive these characters to be, and I think what the disconnect that I think I'm not going to presume, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. The disconnect with Toni Storm is we're still seeing her as a character, not as this character who can be in this space, right? I do want to liken her to a Foley that could have done a character, but then we always talk about Foley. He could turn it on and you still take him super seriously, right? We just go back to the archive. We just studied a real good Foley promo where it's a whole transitionary promo. I don't know if Tony's quite had that yet. And I don't know if she's positioned in that way to be seen that seriously, because there's just elements of her character that are just entertaining to me. Right. And as a pro wrestler, we always knew she could go. I mean, there's a reason why she was like a star in Stardom and was just a legitimate pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes, on the other hand, that's harder for me to that's a more of a bitter pill to swallow. But I've come to a conclusion, and this is purely my theory and how I essentially digest her promos and digest her presence on TV in a way. This is aside from the pro wrestling piece. She's a delusional character, right? She completely buys her own recognition that she is the greatest of all time, to the point that someone would compare themselves to Beyonce, knowing that deep inside her heart, she knows she ain't Beyonce, right? Like she ain't. No, absolutely
there is a
not.
Bianca Belair walking around. Just
bingo, exactly.
Like, come on, man. What are we talking about?
There's a reason Bianca is like one of the icons, the little icons on Peacock right now, and for damn sure, you know. So I've essentially will process this as that the character of Mercedes Monet is this elevated. And she even mentions that I'm not the boss, I'm the CEO now. And it's like, look, having CEO chance in your entrance, it didn't stick. It still doesn't stick. Nobody chants it because nobody buys it. It's not believable. Whereas you need a gimmick, and I think that's something she's trying, and good for her for at least trying something different and not just coming in as like, I'm going to be this badass wrestler you know me for. But I think there's a space for that. I think she could drop the gimmick tomorrow and say, hey, I'm back to basics. This is me. And maybe not speak so much, maybe not be so mic heavy. Where I do see some course correction to your point, because I think I will agree, this felt like something that should have been like the week before the pay-per-view, not 4 weeks before the pay-per-view. If AEW is tried and true as we followed it so far, I think they will dive into vignettes, or they're going to dive into like on-scene or location promos where they're going to do something. Blood will be drawn because it's a Toni Storm match. Something has to happen with blood.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to see more obviously on the physical side. But yeah, I think these, as hard as it is to believe for a company that is, you know, over 5 years old at this point, or I guess, over 5 years old, there's still a lot of growing pains. There's still a lot of things that are like, we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is. And I think the argument's always going to be is who's running things, right?
So,
and this leeway that you have sometimes needs to be edited a little bit.
So here's where I'm going to push back on you again. With the Beyonce comment, what if? Because to me, yes, you're right. She's delusional. What if she said, "I'm the CEO. I run this place. Beyonce ain't got nothing on me. I run this. She's behind me. So now I'm delusional to put myself ahead of Beyonce." What she did is she put herself below Beyonce. So to me, as that delusional character, think about Ric Flair. Flair put himself at such a high level all the time. Delusion out of this world. You know, he talked about who he's hanging out with, and there was some truth to some of the stuff that he talked about who he hung out with. But you hear all these, The Miz used to be the A-lister and all this. We know he didn't even sniff an A-list movie, right? But it was always that kind of thing. He put himself at a level very delusional. So I liked how you put that. But Mercedes, and here's the other thing, I don't put this on AEW. This is a Mercedes issue.
No,
she's been around.
You're right.
She was brought up in a system that she knows how to cut a promo. She knows how to produce this, and she's been in this situation. She went through that whole process with Bailey. I think the problem here is there could be too much leeway given, but there's got to be parameters somewhere. And I think I don't think she's truly bought into wanting to be a heel. I think she wants to be the cool
That
heel.
is true.
I think Toni Storm doesn't know. She's still finding herself. To your point,
Sasha never had a elite promo.
No,
like she never did. That was always like her low. That was her issue. But doesn't she have her own? Doesn't she have her own like writer? Like the
I thought
woman,
so. Yeah, she brought somebody over.
Supposedly.
yeah.
But my thing is this: she's never had an elite promo, but to me, her promos came off genuine. And there's two different things. As Sasha, you can see the emotion. Her and Bailey could get into. Maybe it's because they had friendships. Her and Bailey, her and Becky, her and Charlotte. They had good promos. They were now when I say good, that doesn't mean they were polished. That doesn't mean they're polished.
Yeah.
It doesn't
passionate.
mean passion, right? And yeah, that's a perfect term. It doesn't mean they came off genuine to me more. Like I may flub my words. I may not know how to talk, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because when we get pissed off, any of us who've ever been married or have had spouses, and you get pissed off, you are not very smooth in some of the things you say.
No.
That's what you want, right? And that's what I've always looked at from her. She's not the greatest promo, no, for sure. But it kind of goes back to some of our episodes. Go back in our archives and check this out. Go look at our Kerry Von Erich episode, how it went from when he's given all the leeway, like what in the hell is going on, to get to WWF, and they had these parameters around them and quick, smart, done. But this promo to me, the thing about this one, I have no reason to watch any of the rest of their promos until for a month because everything's set up in one promo. Everything
they said everything.
That's a good point.
The only thing I'll put up just put a pin on it. I think for me the whole Beyonce piece just it didn't feel like a big thing to me, almost because it felt like a throwaway line, like I'm the Babe Ruth of pro wrestling, something like that, where it's just like I'm just showing I'm the greatest at what I do. The delusion to me comes from me where she's still, I don't know, it's hard for me to say it, but you kind of touched on it. She's still not believable to me. None of what she says is believable. And she's won all these titles. She's gone to Europe and taken a title here and a title there. Visually, going back to production, what stuck out to me the most is, where is the AEW title?
On the ground.
Exactly. It's not being showcased. Even Toni, I thought Toni was going to pick it up, and it's on the damn mat.
And that elevated all the titles she has over it. And here's the other part when I said this about hating them holding titles. You're seeing her, and you see whatever's on this shoulder. You see whatever's on this shoulder. You don't even see an AEW title at all in the whole freaking.
See the TBS title,
that
but it's
pink,
like
that pink one was
that's
Owen,
the Owen Hart tournament one.
Yeah, but you don't see the TBS title. The Owen Hart tournament. Let's call it what it is. Are you trying to get? Let's call it. Are you trying to get over the Owen Hart? I won a tournament, or should you try to get over your secondary belt? Your TBS title's around your waist that I don't even get to see.
Well, technically, that's your number one contendership. So that's kind of like you have your Money in the Bank. Like that should be out in front of whatever mid-card title.
Fair.
Technically.
Then TBS should be on the other shoulder. Because if I'm looking at you, you should be putting over your titles.
Yeah.
I can promise you in WWE, you're not going to see the TNA title up here and the world title around their waist.
Right.
You're going to
That's fair.
They're all about that, right? But I know that's just production stuff, but I kind of look at that kind of thing because what are you trying to put over? And to your point, the AEW title sitting on the ground.
Yeah, that's a bad visual.
100%.
Like when you
New
go
Japan
back on,
would never.
Unless Naito's around.
You need the little acrylic stand that falls over.
Right.
But yeah.
Man.
Yeah, good discussion.
Anyway, to the fans out there, this is not an anti-AEW podcast. We promise. No. If you've been listening for a couple of weeks, we promise we like the product. We like the pro wrestlers. We're just fans of making things better, and we want to see what the best production that could be possible. So shout out to them. Shout out, it's RG
also,
City.
One other quick thing. I don't know if y'all know this, but if I was a boss, a CEO is a boss. Okay, I just want to check that out.
Right. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It's
last I checked, the CEO is the boss. But okay, maybe not the final boss, but he is the boss.
Now, also, Ali, before we move on, man, I do want to say this. I want to make this public service announcement by Suplex Dinner Club. We're not going to preface all of any AEW critique with "we like AEW." We don't have to tell you guys that. anymore. Moving forward, we're not telling y'all that. We're all wrestling fans. We're entitled to critique. That's what this podcast does. We've torn apart WWE promos up and down the street like good night. And I'm pretty sure we're going to tear a WWE promo in the next couple weeks. So don't come on here in the comments saying, oh, you guys hate AEW. No, we love wrestling. If it stinks, we're going to say it stinks. We're not going to just say, oh, it's so awesome, but maybe they can fix all. No, if it's crap, it's crap. And, it is what it is. So I'm done with it. I hate always prefacing any of my AEW critique with, I do love it. I mean, I'm cheering for them, but I'm done with that shit. I'm tired of these AEW people getting in their feelings once you offer any form of critique to that company. So send all hate to at Suplex Dinner Club.
All right. Release Danhausen. That's all I'm going to say.
Free that man.
Free Danhausen. All right. So we're going to keep the ship rolling here. Ship sailing here. We are going to look at, again, this is a longer promo. I'm going to cherry pick one portion of it because it has a lot of callbacks. This is Punk Cena. I mean, this should be a big deal. And it feels like it's almost, it feels like a second thought in the week, really, in some ways, with everything else going on. This is Punk responding to Cena. Cena does this typical, I'm coming out, I'm the last world champ. The last time you'll see me, and out comes Punks, and this is where we're going to pick it up.
It's ironic, isn't it? You strapped up the cowboy, the Boy Scout, saying you're going to ruin wrestling, saying you're going to ruin the establishment that made you who you are, and CM Punk, the iconoclast, the outcast, the redheaded stepchild, the punk rock kid from Chicago, seemingly defending the establishment. Well, the more things change, the more things stay the same. I'm not defending the establishment. Let's make it real clear, John Boy. I'm not standing for TKO. I'm not here to defend the billionaires. I'm here to defend the people. Yeah. What are you so mad about, John? Huh? You mad because the establishment picked you, but the people never did? Huh? They picked me in 2011 to be the voice of the voiceless. You say you haven't had the best, you haven't faced the best competition. Boy, you have. Cody's the best we got. And you beat him because you take cheap shots and you take shortcuts. No, I'm not here to kiss my final boss's ass like you. I'm here to let you know that these people are my boss. It's my job to give them what they want. And if they want the truth, they're going to get Ron Killings. No, we're all spokes on a wheel. I've said it very famously, and I've always known that. And it's time CM Punk taught John Cena that he's just a spoke on the wheel, too. And it starts by me taking that title off your shoulder. Yeah. Remember when me and you locked up at Elimination Chamber? First time in over 10 years, and I felt it. But I felt something a little bit different. And then you watched as Seth Rollins stomped me, and you didn't hesitate. And you pulled me back in the ring, and you put me in the STF. And the last thing I heard before I lost consciousness was you, almost in anguish, saying, "I'm sorry." Yeah. You screamed, "I'm sorry," because you knew then and you damn sure now know that what you're doing is not right. Look around you, John. You know that what you're doing is wrong. When I take that title off you, you're going to spend the rest of your dates crisscrossing the country, apologizing to these people for the man you become. That title has corrupted you. And I know, because that same belt turned me into a monster in 2012. And when I came back here to WWE, I had a list of goals. And holding that belt wasn't one of them, because I'm afraid of the man I become when I have it. Now, that's the chip. Everybody in the back should want that. Everybody in the back should want to be heavyweight champion. Few can accomplish it. But I now see that I have to become a monster to stop the monster. To you, to guys like you, to Seth Rollins, that is the chip. That means power, and it means control. And to me, that is something that belongs to the people.
All right, I'm going to reserve my thoughts, but I got a lot to say. Greg, I'm going to come at you. Voice of the voiceless, is CM Punk back?
I mean, here's my issue with this whole thing. I think the whole heel turn of Cena has been a failure.
Yeah. Yes.
100%.
100%.
I think he doesn't believe it. He's been horrible. So I think everybody else is trying to make it work. And I feel like this was a promo of Punk trying to make it work. Everybody's been trying to get them to boo Cena. Everybody's been trying to get them to hate Cena, all that kind of stuff. And you still have this mixed reaction. And I think this is one of those situations where Punk, who arguably one of the top 10 promos, top 5, Mount Rushmore for some ever, is having a hard time doing it, because it's just Cena has given nothing. So, I mean, to me, no matter who it is, whether it's Cody, whether it's Punk, I don't care if you put in Flair from back in the day. I don't care if The Rock came in. I don't care if it's Austin. Cena has been so bland. This is a situation where it takes two to make a dance, right?
Yep.
And Cena's been horrible, in my opinion, and has ruined this entire thing. Maybe that's by design. He's ruining wrestling, but
damn sure doing a good job of it.
100%. And
can be ruined and entertaining. It's not that, though.
It's just bad. And I think Punk's doing the best he can. I don't understand his little line, "If you want the truth, you get Ron Killings." I know it's just a little throwaway line, but it made no sense.
Cheap pop, just to get a pop.
And it wasn't even a good cheap pop. Like, there was no follow-up. Like, give me a little something off of it, right? And so this was just, to me, thrown in to get you to the next PLE.
Yeah. It's just strange to see a Cena Punk match as filler to get to the next big show, right?
Yeah.
Adrian, what are you thinking about multi-millionaire Punk still selling himself as a man of the people? I'm going to beat that drum.
No,
fall off.
Yes. No, we just finished tearing down an AEW promo, and I literally ended it by saying, "Hey, we tear down some WWE stuff, and fellas, we should be tearing this promo down, up and down, because it was ass. Like, just being honest, like, CM Punk and John Cena are arguably two of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. And it was so underwhelming. And largely, like Greg said, Cena's heel turn has been a fumble. It's definitely been a fumble. It was a perfect opportunity to do something really creative. That decision alone could have driven them through the summer as being the company, all eyes focus on them. But they've essentially allowed AEW the opportunity to get some more eyes because it's so underwhelming on Mondays. You know what I'm saying? And much less Fridays. But all that aside, when it comes to this promo, I'll go positives first. I will give Punk credit. You can tell he is a comic book reader and writer because he's all about continuity and callbacks and Easter eggs and all that stuff. Throughout that promo, we didn't show the whole promo, but the pipe bomb was referenced in the sense of, he said, John, I hope you're as comfortable as you possibly can because I want you to hear every word. Like, that's from that promo. Those of us that were all in on CM Punk, I'm being one of them. As soon as I heard him reference that, I popped. I was like, oh, yeah, that's pipe bomb. Then there was another point where he said, either you're going to be the Boston Red Sox or your New York Yankees.
Yankees,
I remember that from a past feud because John Cena decked him the last time he did that, right? So it was these points where, you know, Punk is, like you said, Punk is trying his best to piece together this story of why we should care about this match. But in terms of continuity, there's a couple other things that we got to take into account, Phil. And one of those things is this constant, I'm a man of the people. I'm not here to defend billionaires and all of this stuff. Now, those of us within the know, because if you're a CM Punk fan, 9 times out of 10, you're an active member of the IWC for a large part, especially when he left the company. He was very critical of WWE's dealings with Saudi Arabia. Let's put it out there. That's just flat out the truth. Miz puts out a tweet. Punk comes out of nowhere like an RKO, and he says what he says. I'll put the tweet in post, but people can see it. I don't have to say it. People saw it, and we all, some of us laughed. Most of us laughed, but some of us were like, damn, that's kind of cold-blooded. When he comes back to WWE, it's pretty much put out there that Phil's not going to Saudi Arabia. In fact, one of the first things I said was, man, I wonder if he's worked out a deal where, you know, he'll be there with the company, but when it comes to that, either it's going to be an injury angle or he's going off with his family, because that's what he did the first year he was with the company. But now he's going there. I will give them credit from a storyline, kayfabe-wise, because he didn't push for that fight to be there at that time. He wanted to fight that night. Cena, being the bad guy, he said, hey, you're the hero. You're the people's champ. This is where I want to fight. Knowing that that's why knowing the past, knowing his feelings, knowing that CM Punk, kayfabe-wise, should be as uncomfortable as possible. So much pressure of, man, I'm disappointing my fans and I'm doing all this, but I gotta champion through all that or fight through all that to take this title off of John Cena. So I will give them credit for trying to navigate that. But honestly, man, I'm still stuck on you just finished trashing this company a couple years for this same thing. You stood 10 toes down according to it. But now you got Saudi blood money. Blood covered things in your on the menu. So, you know, it's kind of it is what it is, you know.
And look, we're, you know, as much as we try to ignore the real life happenings, you know, we got to be exposed to it, right? There's this weird, you know, blurring of kayfabe on social media. Am I in character? Am I not? And that was one clear that he was not in character. This was Phil Brooks speaking.
Right.
And now Phil Brooks is going to pick up that check because, you know, that's what it is. I won't critique it too much. Y'all made all the points that I fully agree with. The only thing that I'll say just structurally and you know, we're trying to stay true to the character. I never liked good guy Punk in this way. It's too weird for me.
It's very weird.
Like
very weird.
It's like there's the man of the people Punk, and then he's overreaching. He's doing way too many mental gymnastics. When he says that line, which is again to your point, Adrian, this callback line of I'm a spoke in the wheel, right? Because he's talking about how Vince McMahon eventually in the first promo, he's going to be replaceable.
Yes.
I'm a spoke in the wheel, this and that. But here he says it almost convincing John, like, you should be happy to have a job. You're a spoke in the wheel too. It's really
super weird,
jarring.
Man.
And then
weird.
I didn't come here. I'm not trying to be the champion. What? Like, then what are you doing here? Right?
That was his throwback to AEW. He came
it-
to AEW to build up all the new kids.
Full circle.
Oh man, yeah. So there's just a lot of just inconsistencies and things that just make me just turn him heel already, make him a bad guy, go back to straight edge. Just say, I don't know, do something. This version of Punk is not compelling to me, and obviously not. We can all agree that Cena experiment is a failure, and the sooner they kill it, the better. So
now I will give Punk credit in that promo. He made a very powerful statement by saying Cody Rhodes is the best wrestler in this company.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That was big. Because you're viewing CM Punk at a certain level. Normally, those guys at that level, they're not saying somebody else is the best. They're saying I'm the best. Hell, CM Punk's most of his careers, he's the best in the world and all that.
Right.
He flat out said, "Hey, Cody Rhodes is the best wrestler in this company, and you beat him by cheating. And that's the reason why I want to beat you or whatnot." So I will give him credit there. But yeah, like you said, the good guy Punk, although is currently needed, in my opinion, with the landscape of that division, it's super weird. It's super awkward, and it seems very forced. It seems very forced. Like you're chasing pops. Like Greg mentioned it. The Ryan Killings mentioned. Literally the only reason why he did that was because they were the first segment, and that was the first opportunity to mention R-Truth after him coming back or whatnot. Like that's literally I guarantee that's the only reason why Punk did that.
Yeah, when I look at this whole Cena run, I said the same thing about Orton. It's thrown together. There's no build. It's just, here, let's get the Orton match out of the way. 2-week build. Boom, let's get this one out of the way. 2-week build.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just nothing, right? Even the whole like Logan Paul and Cody tag, right? It's like
just rush, man.
Boom. And
it was forgettable. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating from that standpoint. To me, the Cena thing has been bad. And I think the only way you redeem it, to be honest, is Truth wins, takes it.
Wow.
That's the only way you redeem it.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't redeem Cena at the end. But to me, this would be like, and I'm gonna use Adrian's favorite. This would be like Prince coming out on tour and only doing new music. Doing nothing out off of 1999, doing nothing off of Purple Rain, doing nothing off any of his greatest hits.
It's only doing hit a couple of us, yeah.
Yeah, and you would come out and be like, what? I mean, you went and saw Andre 3000. You were like,
and that's what I was gonna say. I was like, that's how I was with Andre.
No Outcast. I ain't getting
what the fuck is this?
Like,
man?
what in the hell?
Yeah.
That's what it's like. I mean, that's what Cena's final tour is. It's like you've totally cheated everybody, in my opinion. It's like, and you can't turn them because people still want it,
right?
And you've already produced all the merch, so you're still selling it. So you got to get it all out there. But it's like, I don't know. It's just been, and I think it's affecting these promos.
And the last point on my end with that promo or whatnot, one thing we give WWE all the credit in the world when it comes to production and production choices. 9 times out of 10, they're making the right calls. One thing currently with that Cena gimmick that's kind of taken away and kind of taken away from what it should be is the countdown of how many dates there are. Like he's not cooking right now. So it's like instead of us counting down saying, oh my God, it's only 17 more appearances.
That's a lot of dates.
Yeah, a lot of us are looking like, God, man, when is 10 or when is 9 coming up?
Yeah.
Let's get this guy out of here.
Right.
Like, it's doing the exact opposite. I don't even think that's effective as a heel. It's like,
I'm at a point now, like, can you show up on NXT? Can you show up on
Right,
TNA?
yeah,
Can you
yeah,
go?
right.
Can you go to AAA? Can you go get these? Get this
Yeah, it's doing the complete opposite. It's doing the complete opposite.
Let's show up at Collision. Let's show up at Dynamite.
Right.
Wherever it counts. The only thing I'll just put a pin on that one is it just feels like his whole run feels like a placeholder until Cody and Roman come back. I mean, it doesn't feel significant. It doesn't feel historical. None of it feels, and I don't think we're ever going to look back on it that way unless they really, pivot like they did with Jay and stuff. I mean, let's take a page out of that playbook. Well, fellas, this is again we're calling this the promo list, so to speak, or the talkers list, I should say. And we can't talk about the talkers, we can't talk about the hype men, and we can't pontificate on the promo without the best wrestler of all time, the greatest talker that you never knew. And I'm just gonna play it because I got an exclusive for you. I got someone that we all know and love, right? He's not Kermit, but he is green. And this is his first official promo in a WWE ring. I'm going to translate too, so I'll help you all out. So this takes place at the close of Worlds Collide. I actually was recording this and live, and WWE actually posted it. So this is really cool. The context of what we're going to see here is Rey Mysterio's closing out the show. This was for the live audience. They got all the wrestlers in the ring, and he's passing the mic. It was a little weird because it didn't feel very produced. I think Rey was just, hey, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk? And let's say the crowd was telling Rey who's going to talk next. And the crowd is calling for it. The crowd is calling for the man of the hour. You want the iguana to talk? He's so scared. Los Angeles on all the world.
Para mí es un honor.
For me, it's an honor that 30 years we didn't have something like this. We'd see Rey Mysterio.
Conan, Negro Casas, mi ídolo, Eddie Guerrero.
And what an honor it is to be here with my other fellow wrestlers. We're all here because Viva Mexico. All right, so that was just for fun. Thank you for humoring me on that one. That was a fun way to close out the show, and hopefully he's not forgotten about in a month, and he's just another flavor of the month. But I thought that was interesting. I've never seen a case where exactly right. I've never seen a case where the crowd calls for a promo. That's how over that guy is right now. So that was real interesting. So now that we're done talking about Adrian's favorite wrestler of all time, supplanting Bret Hart, I'm sure.
Move over, Bret. Yeah, move over.
There you go.
The green and black attack.
Right? We're gonna call it close to the night there. Thank you, fellas. That was fun conversating and just fun getting into it. A lot of the times these are conversations we have in our text thread. We're sharing clips. We're kind of thinking about these current promos. So to talk about this talkers list of the week, and hopefully there's something that we're doing consistently in the midst of all our other themed episodes. So if you're new to us, this is not a real typical episode we generally do. We do just standalones. We're trying to give something a shot, but check out the back archive, intothebuilding.com. That's intothebuilding.com. We'll take you to the YouTube page. And we have so much for you to check out. We have We look at funny episodes. We look at breakout stars. We are looking at historical pieces. We analyze wrestlers and how they came up through promo. So go back to the archive and check us out. And if you're liking the content, like this video, subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and drop us a comment. We really want to hear from you. What were your favorite promos of the last week or two? What stood out to you? What's going to talk you into the building the next time any of these promotions come into your town? But from me, from Adrian, and from Greg, we're going to wish you all a good night, and we hope to see you next time at Talk 'em in the Ring.